Amelia had always felt a peculiar connection to her hometown of Ravens. Nestled between dense forests and rolling hills, the town exuded an old-world charm that drew tourists in the fall for its famed autumn foliage. But for those who lived there, Ravens had a different, more mysterious allure. Amelia's childhood was punctuated by whispered conversations, hushed tones, and knowing glances exchanged between the older townsfolk. Raised by her grandmother, a woman of few words and many secrets, Amelia grew up with an unspoken understanding that their family was different. Her grandmother's house, an old Victorian mansion on the outskirts of town, was filled with relics from the past. Dusty portraits lined the walls, each depicting stern-faced ancestors who seemed to watch Amelia's every move. The attic, forbidden yet irresistible, was a place she often dreamed about but rarely ventured into. It wasn't until her grandmother's sudden passing that Amelia found herself alone in the house, her curiosity finally unrestrained by her grandmother's stern warnings. On a rainy afternoon, with the wind howling outside and the house creaking under its pressure, Amelia decided to explore the attic. She climbed the narrow staircase, the air growing colder with each step. The attic door, heavy and ornate, creaked open to reveal a room filled with dust-covered furniture, old trunks, and cobwebs. The dim light from a small window barely penetrated the gloom, casting eerie shadows on the walls. Among the clutter, a large chest caught her eye. It was intricately carved with symbols that seemed to pulse with a faint glow. Her heart raced as she approached it, feeling a strange pull towards the chest. With trembling hands, she opened it, revealing an assortment of old journals, scrolls, and a worn leather-bound book that seemed to radiate an aura of its own. The book, bound in dark leather and secured with a tarnished clasp, seemed ancient. Its pages were filled with intricate handwriting and symbols Amelia could barely decipher. As she flipped through the pages, she felt a strange energy coursing through her. The book detailed the history of the Ravens Coven, a powerful group of witches who had ruled the town centuries ago. The leader of this coven was Morgana Ravenswood, Amelia's ancestor, whose legacy was one of immense power and tragic betrayal. The more Amelia read, the more she realized the depth of her heritage. The coven had been betrayed by a rival faction and destroyed in a violent conflict. Morgana had cast a powerful spell before her death, sealing the coven's magic and vowing that a descendant would one day awaken them. Amelia felt a chill as she read the prophecy. The last descendant would have the power to revive the coven and reclaim their ancient magic. Fascinated and terrified, Amelia continued to explore the chest's contents. The journals provided a glimpse into the lives of her ancestors, filled with spells, rituals, and accounts of their magical exploits. As she delved deeper, Amelia discovered that she possessed latent magical abilities. Simple spells and incantations came to her naturally, as if she had always known them. Her dreams became vivid and strange, filled with images of the coven and their powerful rituals. One night, unable to resist the compulsion any longer, Amelia decided to perform a ritual she found in the book. The instructions were clear, the incantations precise. She gathered the necessary items, candles, herbs, and a small vial of water from the lake at the edge of the forest. Under the light of the full moon, she made her way to the ancient stone circle deep in the woods, the very place where the coven had once performed their most powerful rituals. The stone circle was overgrown and weathered by time, but the air around it buzzed with an ancient energy. Amelia felt a sense of familiarity, as if she had been there before. She arranged the candles and herbs according to the instructions, her hands steady despite the fear gnawing at her. As she began to chant the incantation, the words flowed effortlessly from her lips, resonating with the power of her ancestors. The ground beneath her feet trembled, and a cold wind swept through the trees, rustling the leaves and extinguishing her candles. The stone circle began to glow with an ethereal light, and shadows formed within the circle, slowly taking shape. Amelia watched in awe and horror as the figures of the coven materialized before her, their eyes glowing with an otherworldly fire. Morgana, at the center, locked eyes with Amelia, a knowing smile playing on her lips. The air crackled with energy, and the forest seemed to hold its breath. The coven had returned, their presence palpable and menacing. Morgana stepped forward, her gaze intense and unwavering. Amelia felt a surge of power within her, a connection to her ancestors that she had never known. The witches of the Raven's Coven were awakened, and the ancient prophecy was set in motion. As the figures solidified, the whispers in the air grew louder, the voices of the coven speaking words of welcome and power. Morgana's smile widened, and with a voice that echoed through the forest, she proclaimed the beginning of a new era for the Raven's Coven. Amelia, caught between fear and exhilaration, realized that her life would never be the same. The Coven's return marked the dawn of a new and dangerous chapter, one that would test her abilities and her resolve to their very limits. The reawakening of the Coven did not go unnoticed in Ravens. Almost immediately, strange phenomena began to plague the town. The vibrant autumn foliage withered and died overnight, leaving the trees bare and lifeless. Livestock behaved erratically, their eyes wide with fear, as if sensing an unseen predator. An unnatural chill settled over the town, creeping into homes and sending shivers down the spines of the townspeople. Panic and unease spread like wildfire, and the town's normally welcoming atmosphere grew tense and suspicious. Amelia, meanwhile, found herself increasingly drawn into the Coven's world. Morgana and the other witches, though initially ghostly apparitions, grew stronger with each passing day, their forms becoming more solid and their powers more palpable. They guided Amelia through her burgeoning abilities, revealing the vast potential of her magical heritage. Under their tutelage, she mastered spells and incantations that seemed to flow from her with ease, each one more powerful than the last. Her connection to the Coven grew, their whispers filling her dreams and thoughts, encouraging her to embrace her destiny. Yet, with this newfound power came a growing sense of dread. The Coven's influence over Amelia was intoxicating, but also deeply unsettling. Morgana, once revered as a wise and powerful leader, now seemed consumed by a dark desire for revenge. The stories of the Coven's destruction, once mere history, now felt like a prelude to a looming catastrophe. Amelia discovered that the Coven's return wasn't solely about reclaiming their power. They sought to exact vengeance on the descendants of those who had betrayed them. This vengeance would not be confined to the past. It would engulf all of Ravens. As the Coven's plans began to unfold, Amelia realized the full extent of their intentions. Morgana intended to perform a ritual that would bind the entire town to the Coven's will, subjugating every inhabitant and turning Ravenswood into a haven for dark magic. The ritual required a significant sacrifice, and Amelia, as the last descendant of Morgana, was the key to its success. The coven needed her to willingly participate in the ritual to unleash their full power. Conflicted and afraid, Amelia sought refuge in her grandmother's journals, hoping to find guidance or a solution. The journals, filled with notes on magic and family history, revealed a glimmer of hope, a counterspell, one that could banish the witches for good. However, it required immense power and came with great risk. The spell would drain her of her strength, and if not executed perfectly, could destroy her. Yet Amelia knew she had to try. The safety of the town and her own humanity depended on it. Determined to protect ravens and honor her grandmother's memory, Amelia devised a plan. She would confront the coven during the ritual and attempt the counterspell. She spent days preparing, practicing the incantations, and gathering the necessary ingredients. Her once clear resolve was clouded by fear, but she knew there was no other choice. The night of the ritual arrived, the full moon casting an eerie glow over the town. The coven gathered in the stone circle, their presence suffused with dark energy. The townspeople, unaware of the impending danger, remained oblivious, going about their lives with an uneasy sense of foreboding. Amelia made her way to the circle, her heart pounding with fear and determination. She clutched the book and her grandmother's journal, the words of the counterspell etched into her mind. Morgana stepped forward, her eyes gleaming with anticipation. She welcomed Amelia, praising her for embracing her heritage and joining them in their quest for power. The other witches surrounded her, their expressions a mix of reverence and expectation. Amelia felt their magic pulsing around her, the air thick with its oppressive force. She knew the moment of truth was at hand. Taking a deep breath, Amelia stepped into the circle. She began to recite the words of the ritual, her voice steady but her mind racing. As she spoke, the coven chanted along, their voices merging into a haunting harmony. The ground trembled and the air crackled with energy. Amelia felt the power building, surging through her veins. At the climax of the ritual, Morgana raised her hands, ready to complete the spell. Amelia saw her opportunity, and with all her strength began the counterspell. The words flowed from her lips, charged with desperation and resolve. The coven's chanting faltered as they realized what she was doing. Morgana's eyes widened in fury and disbelief, but it was too late. The energy in the circle shifted, the dark magic clashing with the power of the counterspell. The ground shook violently, and a blinding light erupted from the stones. The witches screamed in agony as their forms wavered, caught between the physical and spectral realms. Amelia felt the strain of the spell, her strength waning, but she pressed on, determined to see it through. The energy within the stone circle reached a fever pitch, a swirling maelstrom of light and shadow. Amelia stood her ground, chanting the counterspell with every ounce of strength she could muster. Her voice wavered, but she forced herself to continue, the words burning like fire on her tongue. The coven's power clashed with her own, creating an unbearable tension in the air. Morgana's fury was palpable. Her eyes blazed with rage as she attempted to overpower Amelia's spell, her voice rising in a counter-incantation. The other witches joined her, their collective energy forming a dark vortex around the circle. Amelia felt herself being pulled towards it, her body trembling under the strain. With a final, desperate surge of will, Amelia shouted the last words of the counterspell. A brilliant flash of light exploded from the stone circle, blinding and searing. The ground quaked violently, and a deafening roar filled the air. The witches screamed, their forms twisting and contorting as the light consumed them. Morgana's scream was the loudest of all, a sound of pure anguish and rage. She reached out towards Amelia, her fingers inches away, before her form shattered into 1,000 fragments of light. The other witches followed, their spectral bodies disintegrating into the night. The force of the explosion threw Amelia backward, her body slamming into the ground with bone-jarring force. The light faded, and silence fell over the clearing. Amelia lay motionless, her vision blurred and her body racked with pain. Slowly she pushed herself up, her limbs trembling. The stone circle was in ruins, the ancient stones cracked and blackened. The coven was gone, banished back to the spectral realm from which they had come. Amelia's breath came in ragged gasps as she surveyed the aftermath. The weight of what she had done settled heavily on her shoulders. She had succeeded in stopping the coven, but at what cost? Her body ached with the strain of the spell, and she knew that her strength had been permanently diminished. She had sacrificed a part of herself to save the town, but the victory felt hollow. Stumbling to her feet, Amelia made her way back to town. The journey felt interminable, each step a monumental effort. The first rays of dawn were breaking over the horizon as she reached the outskirts of Ravenswood. The town was eerily quiet, the oppressive presence of the coven lifted, but the sense of unease lingered, a reminder of the darkness that had been unleashed. Raven slowly began to awaken as the sun rose, its light dispelling the last vestiges of the coven's influence. Amelia walked through the quiet streets, her body weak but her resolve unbroken. The townspeople emerged from their homes, their faces etched with worry and confusion. News of the strange events and Amelia's involvement spread quickly, casting her in a complicated light. She was seen both as a savior and a harbinger of dark times. Returning to her grandmother's house, now eerily silent, Amelia felt a profound sense of loss. She had discovered her heritage and the immense power that came with it, but she had also learned the dangers of unchecked magic and the darkness that could consume those who sought it. Her grandmother's warnings echoed in her mind, and she knew that the knowledge she had gained must be treated with the utmost care. Amelia carefully packed away the book and her grandmother's journals, deciding to keep them as a reminder of the past and a guide for the future. She knew that her journey was far from over. The knowledge and power she had gained came with great responsibility. She resolved to use her abilities for good, to protect Ravenswood and ensure that the darkness of the coven would never return. The town slowly began to heal, the strange occurrences ceasing and a tentative normalcy returning. Amelia became a guardian of Ravenswood, using her knowledge and magic to help the townspeople and keep the town safe. She worked quietly, mending the rifts caused by the coven's brief return and building trust among the wary townsfolk. Yet, the victory was bittersweet. The strain of the counterspell had left its mark on Amelia, her strength permanently diminished. She felt the loss of the coven's power, a void where the connection to her ancestors had been. But she also felt a sense of peace, knowing that she had done the right thing. She had honored her grandmother's memory and protected the town from a great evil. In the months that followed, Amelia faced new challenges. The legacy of the Ravenswood Coven lingered, a reminder of the past and a warning for the future. She knew that the battle against darkness was a never-ending one, but with her grandmother's wisdom and the strength of her own will, Amelia was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. One cold, clear night, as Amelia looked out over the forest from her grandmother's house, she couldn't shake the feeling that the Coven's influence still lingered. The stone circle lay in ruins, but the land still thrummed with ancient magic. She knew that the past was never truly gone, and that she would always be connected to her ancestors, for better or worse. Despite the pain and sacrifice, Amelia found a new sense of purpose. She would continue to protect Ravenswood, honoring the legacy of her family while forging her own path. The witches of the Ravenswood Coven would always be a part of her, but she had the power to shape her own destiny. And with that knowledge, she faced the future with determination and hope, ready to confront whatever darkness might come.